wish Mother was here.
This is the Candyland Hour for all good children. The orchestra will play our theme song.
You know that song, don't you?
Sure I do.
Well, then sing it.
Welcome to Pursuit Table Talk. I am Pastor Mike Hofer. I'd like to thank you for joining us this week. This is episode number 18. How about that? We're almost to 20. We're almost to 20.
We're almost as old as I am.
Our podcast in weeks is just as old as we are in marriage years.
Yeah.
Yo.
Right now. Because our 18th wedding anniversary will be this year in August.
Hey.
August 12th.
Yep.
Awesome.
2018. 18 years of marriage. Marriage.
Congratulations.
Love.
I don't like that movie.
True love.
I'm not a big fan of that movie.
And so
that blessed arrangement.
Today we are joined by
Alex Hofer.
No, Barfield.
Kristen Hofer.
And I'm Pastor Mike, and Miss Alex Hofer is sitting in for Evan.
Amon.
Evan Amon is over in, he is at Impact Camp, which is a student leadership camp that is put on by Impact 360, which is a gap year program here in Georgia. It's in Pine Mountain, Georgia. And they put together a very intense leadership week. And Evan and a couple of our other students, Anna Webb and Ningy Tons and is Michael there? Michael Howe.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because they went together.
Anna Webb, they're all there. I don't think we're forgetting anybody. We might be, but there's a good
Those are the ones I knew were going.
There's a good group that's there. So I'm hoping and praying that they're having a great time.
Best be behaving yourselves.
That's right. Well, there's no way to get in trouble. I mean, I guess they can, but it's pretty intense. Like, they take their cell phones the day they get there and lock them up. Like, they don't even get them at night. And so it's a pretty intensive week of leadership.
Yeah.
Everyone who I've known who has gone on that has always enjoyed it. And we had 3 or 4 students go last year, and they all just raved about it. But how great it was, but how exhausting it was, and how much of a challenge it was. And so I'm hoping the same thing for Evan.
Impact's no joke.
No, it's not. And we miss you, brother.
Yes.
Hurry back.
Miss you, Evan.
Hurry back.
Love you.
So I can continue to prove to
You're
you
a babe.
that Michael Jordan is a better player.
I was going to say, we're not going to have to talk about them today.
No,
we're
we
not.
will.
He's going to mention it, but we don't have to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it because it just is
I ain't
going
to talk about it. I don't know anything about it.
Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. And so that's that. So, Evan.
I feel like Evan's honor is being defiled right now. I feel like I need to stand up for him.
Take that,
but
brother.
I literally can't, Evan. I'm sorry. I literally know nothing about the subject.
That's right.
Me neither. No,
That's right. It's just
neither.
basketball. So we this week, Miss Alex is filling in for Evan.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here, pretty girl.
Yep.
She's my baby girl. She's my youngest child.
Your second.
My second child. Yeah, I only have 2. We collected the set and quit.
Unless you go by what the Walmart lady said a couple of months ago.
She told me
she thought I was his child.
She told me that
Ryan
Noah and
Womack
Ryan
too.
Womack were my children.
Really?
Yeah, I was the dad.
And I could understand
apparently.
me kind of. Like, we both have dark hair and glasses. Ryan's
didn't wanna-
almost a
Ryan,
ginger.
not so much.
She didn't want to discriminate against Ryan, so she was just like, "Hey, are you his dad too?" I was
Why
like,
would she even ask you those questions?
Well, she didn't ask. She was just like, "Oh, it's so good you're going camping with your boys."
Oh, that was
with
when
your sons.
Yeah, with your sons.
That's funny.
We were just like,
yeah.
That was
It was a little weird, but it is what it
Apparently.
is.
And then I looked at her and I was like,
Related
"You're my
now.
dad."
Yeah. I said, get in the corner, you're grounded. So this week we're gonna continue on with our sigh moment of the week. These are those things that whenever you see them or hear them or experience them, it kind of makes you go, what in the world are we doing in this culture? And so this week, everybody got a sigh moment.
Yes.
I'm going to go right this week. I'm going to start with Miss Kristen.
Ooh, yay.
Ladies
My
first.
beautiful wife, Kristen. We're
I
going
get
to
to go
start with
first
her.
sometimes.
So, Chrissy, what do you got? Sigh moment of the week.
Okay, so mine's not really a sigh moment of the week, but it's a sigh moment of the summer.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I might.
Can I guess?
Go.
Yeah.
Is it all this
That's a
daggum
lot.
rain?
No, it's not rain. No, although that's a good one.
Mosquitoes.
I do
No,
hate the
my
rain.
sigh moment is
And the mosquitoes.
stupid mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I knew it.
the reason is, we have this garden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Today, Mike said, will you please go out and get me 4 leaves of basil? I go out and get 4 leaves of basil. I come inside. I'm not kidding you. I have 4 bites around my ankles just from stepping out,
Yep.
clip, and going inside.
Yep.
I'm like I tell them all the time, I'm like, I feel like a pincushion.
I was outside for about an hour today, sitting in my hammock, writing, and I got bit at least 10 times on my
Surprised you could
legs.
sit out
That's
there.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because I go out there and I
It was
never
a
get
little
bit. Like
moist.
I think my blood's toxic.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't-
Well, you know
They're just
that
like, whatever.
they have a theory, or not.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if it's
Certain
it's
blood types.
Yeah, certain blood types are more.
It's not
attractive
theory.
than
It's
others.
scientific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I have the blood type they like a lot because
Yeah.
I can be outside
Me
for
too.
5 seconds and I'm just
Yeah, I
they just
don't.
Me
light
too,
me
Noah.
up.
No.
And I'm slightly allergic to bug bites, so like when I get bit, like they just swell up
Yeah.
like way bigger than anybody else, and they're like, "What bit you?" I'm like, "A mosquito," and they're like, "Mosquito bites are supposed to be tiny," and I'm like, "Not on me."
Now, I am
too,
too. Now,
man.
now, when I do get bit, I swell up.
Yeah.
But I don't get bit very often. I might get 1 or 2 every now and then.
So
but,
aggravating.
but they leave me alone for the most part.
Yeah.
Back to the basil. I made some phenomenal caprese salad today. With the
Nothing to
basil.
do with sigh moment.
And it wasn't really the salad.
Shameless plug for Chef Mike.
It was my take on the caprese salad.
It was so good.
I took a tomato and
From our garden.
yep, from our garden,
Mm-hmm.
and I accordion cut it. So it's where you cut a tomato, but you don't cut it all the way through, so it kind of looks like an accordion. And then I stuffed it with mozzarella and fresh basil from our garden. The mozzarella didn't come from our garden.
We have a goat in the back.
And then I sprinkled it with some balsamic vinegar glaze, and
It was
Kristen loved
so-
Well,
it.
dang, you fancy.
It
I
looked
did not eat it because I
very-
don't eat tomatoes. Like
It
that.
looked very bougie. I can
It was
tell you
super
that.
bougie. There's no question.
It
Tasted
looked
very bougie.
So fancy.
It was great. It
And
was
it's
fancy.
yummy in my
It
That has
looked
nothing
like
to do
it
with the
came
side
from-
moment,
No,
but
that was
a
my sigh moment.
gazillion-dollar
So.
restaurant.
yeah, mosquitoes do suck. Ha ha
I'm-
ha ha. Literally and
That's a knee
figuratively.
slapper right
You
there.
know, it just means that, if they're attracted to our blood type, that means our blood type is sweeter than
Yep.
yours.
Yep.
I really don't care. Like I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. Mine could be super toxic. I don't care. Just don't bite me. That's not something I am ever going to be ashamed of.
When they bite me on my arms, they swell up, but on my legs, I'm fine. It's
Yeah.
weird.
That's weird.
I know.
How about you, Noah?
All
Cool.
right.
Sigh moment. No, what do
My
you got?
sigh moment is kind of serious. It's a sigh moment for myself. This past week, and then with the Sunday service that we had last week, Pastor Keith here at CCC was talking about, he was preaching a message about how basically Christ is like our source of life and how he is enough for us and above everything. And talking about that, he was talking about this idea of us having cisterns in our lives and things that we pull water from, meaning life, and they don't add up to what the original source of life is. And I just went through this past week before that message where some things happened and some things didn't work out. And leading into the week had just been super depressed and just super down, couldn't really figure out why. Because I was trying to just feel like that thing wasn't that big of a deal. But after listening to the message and after having some conversations with a friend, came to the realization that even though I had tried my hardest, I'd still made this thing a cistern. And even though I completely tried my hardest not to make it a cistern, I'd still caused this thing to be a cistern and had put a lot of stock in it. And then when that didn't work out and it just fell through, it came out that it was a cistern because of how it affected me so much, and it affected my just mood and just life, and wasn't even, it affected so much just to the point that I didn't even know that that's what it was. And then finally realizing it was oh, this was a cistern, and I was trying to pull life from this. And even though it's a good thing, like, it still isn't going to fill up a God-sized hole that only Christ can fill. And it was just like a super big, like, revelation. It's like, oh, this is something that needs to be worked out and given over, even though I thought it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
So my sigh moment is just like my inability to keep from doing that thing that I didn't want to do, making that a cistern. But I'm thankful that it was revealed and now we can finally start moving in the right direction.
I just sigh on cisterns. Cisterns. Yeah, that message was great. If you haven't heard it, you can go to ccclive.org and check out our sermon series from the church. Pastor Keith gave a great message about the river. Ezekiel, I believe, is what it was, and it's kind of our church's founding verse.
The river was the week before.
Was it? What was it? What was the verse?
No,
this one was.
That's what he just said.
This one was the verse in Jeremiah. Yep. Sorry, 2 weeks ago was the river. This week was.
That was a good one too.
Was the cisterns in Jeremiah. And if you want to hear those, just go to ccclive.org. All of our sermons are kind of on archive there.
All the way back to,
Video
like, 2012.
and audio. Yeah. Video and audio, so you can check them out. This past week was just really good. So, Jay, what do you got? Alex?
I don't know if I can follow up on that, but mine's not so serious. I do cheer Mondays.
Did you fall out of a hammock?
No.
Did you fall down just walking? That's
No.
quite possible.
It is, but I do cheer Mondays and Thursdays. But last week I did Monday, Friday, and Saturday. Friday I had a practice about, was it
3 hours?
3 hours? Yeah. 3 hours long, and then I had 2 practices Saturday, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So I've been sore for the past couple
And then
days.
you practice. You
And then I
practice
passed
5.5 hours on Saturday total.
Yeah. And then I
So
then
8.5
2
hours in 2
sessions.
days.
And then I had practice yesterday. Now I'm really
That's a
sore.
full-time job.
That is intense.
Well, it
Yeah.
was choreography time.
was
so
choreography. It's
choreography.
They were putting
Gotta learn the
together
choreography.
their
I can't say choreography. I can't
Close
say
enough.
it right.
Good work.
English
Good
is
work.
hard. It's
Say it
okay.
right. It's a hard word. English is
So your sigh
difficult.
moment is
I'm sore.
you're sore.
Just being sore.
Sore and tired.
Moving.
Cheer
hurts.
sigh.
Moving is a chore.
Moving.
I'm doing spirit finger sigh right now for you. Cheer sigh.
Jazz hands.
Yeah.
Spirit fingers.
Spirit fingers.
Oh, these are the spirit fingers?
These
This
are
is
spirit
spirit
fingers,
fingers.
yeah.
Yes.
Apparently, me and Mike
you guys all know.
spirit fingers were.
Yeah, I do.
Jazz
You guys
hands.
I
all
didn't.
know
Spirit fingers.
spirit fingers. I'm a cheer dad. I know what spirit fingers are.
You know jazz hands.
I'm hashtag cheer dad. So
Hashtag dad life.
dad life. We're proud of you. You worked hard. Thank you for doing
No, I'm
that.
really sore.
You're awesome. Well, my sigh moment is is a little more serious, and it's my favorite topic. President Donald Trump. No, I'm
Oh
just
my
kidding. It's
goodness.
not. It's not Donald Trump.
Thank you.
But is it still serious?
But it is serious and
Okay.
it is still political. My biggest. Here's the deal. Just this week, you guys probably have seen the articles. You saw the video, whatever, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders went out to this restaurant just outside of D.C. I can't remember if it was in Maryland or Virginia or something. It was just right outside of D.C. And apparently it's this little tiny restaurant. It's called the Red Hen. And inside the restaurant, I think there's only 24 seats. So it's not a big restaurant. It's kind of this local joint that's really well known, very popular. But she and her family, I guess she had her whole family with her husband, kids, like few extended family. There's like 8 or 9 of them in this party. They go into this place. They sit down, start to order their food. They bring out their drinks and their appetizer or whatever. Well, one of the employees goes and calls the owner and says, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is here. What should we do? Well, here's the rub. Here's what happened. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is a very right-wing, conservative Republican. I think she's the press secretary or something.
I think so.
I think that's what she is, press secretary. And so, so she works for President Trump in the White House. And so she's very right-winged, very Republican, very conservative. And she basically is the person who kind of whatever President Trump does, she has to spin it to the public. Basically, it's her job. And so anything he said in this first year, she's spun it to the public and tried to make it positive, which is her job. That's what she's supposed to do. Well, that comes off, and I don't know her personally. I don't really know her story. I don't know any of that stuff. But that comes off at sometimes because our president comes off sometimes as bigoted and racist and he hates all kinds of different groups, homophobic, transgenderphobic. I just learned this one, ableophobic. Just learned that one today, by the way.
Yeah.
So he comes off this way, and so she backs him. So then she comes off that way. Well, one of the girls who worked at this place was homosexual, and she basically was offended and said, "I don't want this lady here, and we don't have to serve her." And so they go and call the owner. Where the owner comes in, no one makes a scene. It actually was handled, other than the fact that it shouldn't have been done at all. It was handled very professionally, both sides. Sarah Huckabee, the owner comes in and says, "Hey, I'm the owner. This is my name. May I speak to you for a second?" So they go outside or over to a corner or something. And she said, I just feel like you probably should leave. And the reason was, I guess this county in which this restaurant sits was the only county in that state or whatever that did not vote for Trump. That whole county is very anti-President Trump. And so she didn't want her local business to suffer because somebody sees a Trump person in her business. That was her justification. And so she asked this lady to leave. And granted, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is very polarizing. Like, she's very one-sided. So she asked her to leave. They do, no problem. She's like, "I'll leave. Me and my husband will leave. Everybody else can stay." Well, then the rest of the people are like, "No, we'll leave too." They paid for their drinks. They tipped very handsomely. They just left. There was no like big argument or fight or anything. They just left and said, "That's fine. I won't be back." Well, then Sarah Huckabee the next day tweets out, "Well, I was kicked out of this restaurant, blah, 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 blah." Well, here's where I sigh, okay? Because now the right-wing conservative Republican fan base is complaining that this owner chose their morals, and whether you agree with those morals or not, chose her morals over serving someone. These are the same people that 3 to 5 years ago were up in arms because a Christian baker these are the same people that not up in arms. They supported this person who's a Christian baker out in Arizona who refused to serve a homosexual couple. And so now we have both sides. And when that happened, then the left and the liberals, whatever you want to call them, were all up in arms because this religious person chose not to serve a homosexual a cake. And so now you got both sides within a span of 5 years who have totally flip-flopped. And here's why I sigh. We have to do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I want to be, and Ron Howard, I wish I'd have saved his tweet. He tweeted out this message that I wish I would have saved and I would have read it here today. But he literally, Ron Howard's very, I mean, he leans left, he leans liberal, he leans, he's a Democrat, he leans that way. And I don't even know if lean is the right word. He's firmly in that camp, but he uses his common sense also.
I mean, he's Hollywood.
And everybody knows who Ron Howard is, I hope. Like, he's Opie. He was
director of
he directed Grinch Who Stole Christmas. He directed Apollo 13. He directed a new Solo movie. He's just a big deal. He was Richie Cunningham in Happy Days. He's been in Hollywood his whole life. Like literally since he was a kid. And so he tweeted out, he said, "Listen, I don't agree with Sarah Huckabee." He said, I don't agree with a lot of stuff that President Trump does. He said, but I want to live in a place where no one kicks anyone out just because they don't agree with them.
Right.
He said it's different if they're causing a scene or if they're doing something illegal or if they're not in the health code violation. He said that's all different. He said, but I want to live in a place where we don't kick anyone out just because we don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And I want to say that to both sides of the coin. Like, I want to say that same thing to the baker who refused to serve a cake to a homosexual couple. I guess saying two homosexual couple, that would be 4 people, but it was just 2. It was just a couple. I want to say the same thing to that person that I would say to the person of the Red Hen restaurant. I also agree with Ron. I want to live in a place where I don't kick anyone out of the conversation just because I don't believe in them or just because I don't agree with them. I want to live in such a way where I show love and respect and grace and mercy and truth to everyone. Everyone. I don't care what side of the coin you're on. I don't care what side of the issue you're on. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, homosexual, heterosexual, black, white, Democrat, Republican. I don't care what you are. I want to invite you to the table and say, let's have a conversation and build a relationship, because it's only in that in which we meet in the middle where things actually happen.
Right.
Because now what's happening is
There's more arguing.
just like with the immigration reform thing. Now both sides just want to use it as a political pawn to move their agenda.
Yep.
And nothing gets done.
That's right. It's round and round and round we go.
Nothing gets done. And then now they just sit on both sides of the fence and yell at each other.
Like little
well,
children.
you should have served her. You should have. She stood up on her morals. Blah, 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 blah.
They stomp their feet and walk the other way.
Man, it's like, and I said this the other day, it's like we're middle school 6th graders and we're trying to argue about whose dad is stronger.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
exactly what it is. That's all we're doing now.
Yeah.
And it gets nothing done. And all it does is continue to push the divide farther and farther away from each other. And I'm not saying I agree with Sarah Huckabee. I'm not saying that I totally agree with the homosexual agenda. I'm just saying, as a human, as a person who lives in the human race, in a community, in a culture, I think we should have enough respect for each other to say, even though I disagree with you, I'm going to serve you. Because here's why. That's what Jesus did.
Right. That's right.
The most popular verse in the entire Bible is what? John 3:16
For God so
is
loved
for
the world.
God so loved the what?
The world.
The world, that he gave his only son, that whosoever believe in him shall not die but have eternal life. Right?
Yep.
Whatever version you want to read. We covered them all, I think.
Yes.
It says God so loved the world, which meant he died for people that he didn't agree with.
Right.
He died for people he did not that did not agree with him. He died for people who do not believe in him. He died for people who might be different religions, different colors and creeds and nationalities, and he died for the world. And so because Jesus could come to the table and say, I don't agree with you, but I'm still going to die for you. As a Christ follower, that's what I have to do. And even if I don't believe in what you believe in, even if I don't walk the same journey that you walk, I still have to love you. I still have to stop and say, I will serve you, because Christ said, I did not come to be served, but to serve. And when we begin to say, I'm going to start kicking people out just because I don't agree with them, evil and hate wins.
It just reminds me of those other days. You can't come in here. You don't have the right color skin.
That's right. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing all over again. It's just it's got a different twist.
That's right.
And that's not okay. It wasn't okay then. It's not okay now.
And so that's my side moment. It's basically just, man, we got to get to the place where we stop over politicizing everything. Stop being offended by everything. Stop saying, well, that side does it, so I'm going to do it. Well, that side did it, so I'm going to do it. Man, just love. What are you gonna say, Alex? You don't have to raise your hand. This is not school.
Hey, I have to raise my hand or you'll keep talking. Anywho.
I like to talk.
I know. I do too. But really, you gotta, like, even if you don't agree with them, at the restaurant, the homosexual waiter or employee should have just gone up and been like, hey, how are you? How has your day been? Like, you should have just greeted them with, like, happiness and tried to put that out into the table. So, like, people stereotype people way too much. Like, they think they're evil and hateful all the time. You gotta, like, actually have a conversation with someone before you can start stereotyping them. Because it's dumb when someone's like, oh, you're this, so I'm gonna step back and hate you because you're this. Like, if you're, like, people stereotype Christians all the time, like, I don't like you because all you're going to talk about is God. No, we can have a conversation about, like, football or basketball.
That's right. Well, some people can have a conversation about basketball. Some people.
Can we? So. Or we can have an argument.
That's good.
Or we can have an argument.
I agree, Jay. That's good stuff. So, yeah, I sigh on that. I just say, I say, guys, we got to do better. Like, just as a people, we have to do better.
Agreed.
So I want to move us into our hot topic today, and this is going to be extremely awkward.
Yeah, because
our daughter is on
sitting at the table.
Our daughter is on the panel
Offspring?
today. It's gonna be awkward for her too because her parents are sitting here.
Yeah.
So.
So don't just say what we want to hear.
No, her and I already had this conversation. We just talked about truth and grace.
Okay, so what's the hot topic?
So the hot topic is this. It's kind of, we're going to talk about how, as both a teen and a parent, how do you foster a good relationship? I titled it, Those Weird Old People in Your House. Like, how do you foster a good student-parent relationship? So not only the weird old people in your house, but the weird young people in your house.
Yeah.
Like, because we think you guys are weird too. Like, we always think you guys are strange.
Old.
Y'all aren't old.
You're 40.
Yet.
You are 40. That's true. That's true statement.
Not
Facts.
old.
Yeah. I wouldn't, you know.
Hashtag facts.
I think, well, actually, I won't say at what age I think you get old because that might offend somebody. But
I think you're always, and this is such a cheesy statement, but it's the truth. I just think you're always as old as you feel.
Yeah.
that's true.
Like, because I'm 43 and I don't feel old.
Yeah.
But there are days.
I'm 20 and I feel like an old man.
And there are days when I wake up and go, oh,
I'm 40.
how did that happen? Like the other day, like yesterday. Matter of fact, yesterday, I woke up
Actually, it was this morning.
feeling great. Was it this morning or was it yesterday?
You told me
I woke
earlier.
up feeling great, and I just laid into bed because I've been trying to practice kind of get my day started in like silence and solitude. And today I just did it while I was laying in my bed, and there was nothing going on. Nothing was on. I didn't have my phone in my hand. Nothing. And there was no noise out and about in the house. The kids were still asleep. The dog was still asleep. Kristen was gone to work. And so I'm just laying there in the bed, just kind of listening and meditating. And I just raised my arm above my head. That's literally all I did was raise my arm above my head. And something snapped in my neck. Like, and now if you watch me, like you out there in podcast world, you can't see me. But if I have to turn my entire body because my neck is basically just stuck right now. It's fused together with my shoulder blades, I think. And so there are days when those things happen and I go, dude, that would have never happened when I was 19. Like,
well, you would be surprised because I've had days where I'm like looking out my car window to like see if I can get over, and just something happens in my neck, and I'm like, ow, and I'm like, I cannot turn my neck for like a week, like, and I'm like, I'm only like 19, 20, like, what's happening to me?
When I was 19, I was in phenomenal shape, and so I didn't ever pull anything.
Yeah, I can't say the same.
I always
You look good though, bro.
You're not in your swimmer form.
I'm not in my
You look
swimmer
good
days.
though. You look good.
when I'm around younger people, I'm like, I wish I could still do that. Like,
That'll
like
get worse as you
Younger
get older.
people, you mean people like 7? Because you're not that old, baby. You're
yeah,
only 13.
I know. People that are younger than me. Let's put
like
it that way.
7-year-olds. So what do you wish
No,
you could do? Slobber and
11.
color?
Hey,
Get away
I know
with
some
pooping your
pretty
pants.
great 7-year-olds.
What do you-
Anyways,
Eat baby food?
When I was talking about, I'm talking about like
Not fix your
kids
own
that
food?
aren't like teens yet. Like when they're like 11, 10, 9 years old, they have so much energy. So much more energy than I do. And I'm like, I have so much energy. How do you have more energy than I do?
That's true.
That's a good point.
So let's talk about this topic for a second. What are some things that you think parents and teens can do to help cultivate a closer relationship? Like what are some words of advice that you would give? Just think about your own life, kind of where you're at. I mean, obviously I'm a youth pastor, so I'm sort of a professional at this kind of thing. I'm also a dad and a husband
And a son.
and so I've had all of these, and a grandson. I've had all of these things throughout my life, and so's Kristen,
Except she's
from
a
the
mom,
flip
not a
side of the
dad.
gender. So what are some words of wisdom you would give both to teens and to adults? Like, what would you say if you were posed that question and we were kind of on a panel in front of all these parents, and our 117 listeners are listening?
Hey.
Are you asking me
Everyone,
specifically?
everyone.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just kind of chime
I
in.
have an answer.
Go ahead, Noah. What you got?
I would just say, and I was thinking about this as we were thinking earlier about it, and just the number one thing I think, just for both parents and teens and just families in general, even among brothers and sisters, just the way to cultivate relationships in a family and the way to live with a family in a way that is good is to show grace. And to live in grace.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because parents and kids and brothers and sisters are people.
That's right.
And we as people screw up sometimes. And we screw up in small ways and we screw up in big ways.
That's right.
But there are times where we have to stand back and say, I'm going to
best of us.
choose to show grace in this situation.
Right.
And to not, try to force some sort of agenda or
discipline.
discipline.
Or
Now, obviously, I'm not saying don't discipline your kids, but like,
Gotta be some discipline. for
yeah,
sure.
like I have seen in like some families and in some parent-child relationships of kids responding well to grace and instruction instead of just discipline right off the bat for every single little thing. And then I think this goes right also with the kids. Because I think a lot of the time as kids and as sons and daughters that we look as parents as the ones that aren't supposed to screw up. Like, we're the ones
That's
trying to
right.
figure
That's
things
100%
out, and
true.
y'all aren't supposed to be the ones trying to figure
That's
stuff
100%
out.
true. I think
And
sometimes we forget that our
Yeah.
parents are human. Like,
Yeah.
they're real people.
And so that's why, as a child, you also need to look at your mom and your dad and remember that, they're still a human too, and they're going
Right.
to make mistakes. They're not always going to say the right thing. They have a human mind just like you do that sometimes gets angry and might say something in the
Right.
heat of the moment that they don't really mean to say.
Yeah.
Or they might, do something that doesn't make sense, and it may not make sense.
Yeah.
But you have to go with it because they're the one that has been placed in authority over you.
Right.
And so I just think that grace is such a huge thing for families that needs to be, what is the word I'm looking for? Exercised. Because it's going to take, grace takes intentionality.
Right, you gotta
You're not
intentional.
going to wake up one day and just automatically be more gracious. You
That's
have
right.
to tell yourself in those situations that require it, I'm going to show grace in this situation. I'm
Yeah.
not going to blow up on this person, or I'm not going to try to correct or micromanage every little thing, or if they're running late, or if they're, don't have everything together, if they're forgetting stuff, if they leave you somewhere, or, just anything big or little. I just think it all revolves around grace.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's just been huge in my own family life as well, just because, coming from a divorced family, you sometimes blame your parents for the way that things turn out in your own life. And then you just have to step back and remember that, again, they're human too, and they've made mistakes. And, the best thing you can do to cultivate that relationship and to keep that love alive is to show grace, even in times that, you really don't want to show grace, but you choose to do anyway.
Yeah, that's right. That's
really
good.
Because that's what Christ did for us.
That's right. So, Alex, what would you say is some advice you would give to teens on how to best relate to their parents?
Just remember, they have a job. Most likely, your parents do have a job that they go to almost probably every day. They're probably stressed out. And just remember, you gotta give them a break sometimes. You gotta, if something goes wrong, you gotta tell them, something goes horribly wrong, you need to, make sure they know about that. But if they're already stressed out, you gotta, love on them, make sure they're, hang out with them. Watch a movie, maybe watch a comedy special, something.
You could tell allegedly.
Also, to have more of a connection with your family, sometimes you gotta maybe find a movie that you might have watched the day before, or or watched a week ago, or maybe a movie that you haven't seen or haven't seen in a while.
So spend time together. Yeah. So what would you say to parents as a teenager? This is from my perspective. This is what I want parents to know as a teenager.
Don't be too harsh on them, because you don't know, it's hard to put this into words, but I know you've been stressed out, and because of, most likely, again, work, but give your kids a break sometimes. Don't always be, you mess up once and you, lash out on them. Don't do that. Just give them at least, 1 or 2 chances before you ground them. Or
just one or two.
1 or 2.
Can I get that in writing?
1, 2, 3, or 4 chances.
Oh, now
I believe the Bible says 70 times 7 or something.
It's going up.
Yeah,
it's going up.
7 chances, the holy number.
That's
give them 7 chances before you ground them. Just don't give them the first time they mess up, the first time they forget something.
Right.
Don't just be give me your phone.
Right.
Or no TV for a month.
Have you ever gone a month without watching television? Yeah.
No, I've gone maybe
3 hours.
half a week.
Possibly because our dad's a pushover.
All right.
Yes.
Can I say,
That's true.
When she's done, can I also say
When
one
you
other
meet
thing?
your dad, you can
go
tell
ahead.
him that.
Well, were you finished?
Yeah,
Were you finished?
You
Okay.
can go ahead.
I think also with the grace thing, and with not always the first resorting to discipline, resorting more to teaching and instruction in something than just saying this is the way it is just because. That was something that frustrated me to the end of the earth when I was younger, especially in the teen years. It was just because. And even if it's something that's hard or difficult to explain, at least try your best to explain, because then they might not disagree with you. They might see your logic and reasoning behind this thing.
I get that.
Why they shouldn't go somewhere or why they shouldn't do a particular thing. I think that the role of a parent is, or one of the roles of a parent is, instruction and teaching and preparing your son or preparing your daughter for life. And that doesn't just come through, a list of things. It comes through them seeing you live out the things that you say, and through you going and saying,
right,
and showing them like, this is how you do this. And that could be like little things, or it could be small things, or little things or big things. But I think just grace and then teaching and instruction is just huge.
You guys have anything, Mom?
Yeah, Mom. What do you think?
Mom.
I've been thinking about
Chrissy.
this. I could say so many things. Like some days we fail at this, and some days we're really good at this.
I think we're exceptional parents.
It ebbs. Well, I mean, it ebbs and flows. It really depends on what we have going on and how much
Not
time.
to toot my own horn, but toot toot.
Alex, this is where you say how great parents they are.
Yeah, she knows it.
I mean,
We don't have to lie in this
I mean-
category.
I would just say that as a parent, don't be afraid to go into your child's or teen's area. Like,
Yeah.
force your way into their space.
That's right.
Like, we have a rule at our house: no locked doors ever.
We don't lock doors ever.
That's good.
And
Unless
when
you
there are
change it.
locked
Unless
doors,
Daddy's in the bathroom.
yeah, unless you're in the bathroom.
we talked about that before. No, unless well, there are no unlesses except for when Dad's in the bathroom. But I mean, there are consequences for locked doors in our house. So the kids know I have free reign to walk in whenever. And we do that. We make Mike and I both. We make sure we walk into the space, and I do it every day. I make
Dad
sure that that's
knocks.
the first thing that I
Nice.
do
Mom doesn't.
when I walk in the door from my long day at work. Because if I let that go,
Every day.
I won't do it. So I go straight to them. I even do that before I go to the restroom. That's like I put my stuff down, I go say hi to Alex, and then I go into Tim's room, into his video game world, and he stops everything he's doing, and we speak to one another and look at each other in the eyes. And I think that that's huge, because
That's good.
that means there's a switch. Okay, Mom's home now. Dad's home now. Now it's time to be engaged as a family. So.
That's good.
And
That's good. You gonna add something, Jay?
yeah, and like you might think that they're always on their phone or always playing a video game, but we do stuff while you're not home. We go outside. We play with the dog. We feed the dog. We do human things while you're not home. We're not just robots in front of our TVs.
That's good.
Just saying.
I kind of sum it up in kind of these 4 words. This is kind of the things that I try to, I guess, model my parenting after these 4 words, and I hope, and actually I'm going to add a 5th word. I just thought about it, but the four are really what I try to model my parenting after, and I'm also going to say this as speaking to students. I would say on the flip side of that same coin, if you want a good relationship with your parents, you have to do these 4 things as well.
Yes.
It's a relationship
both
is a
sides.
two-way
Two ways.
street. It's not a 50-50 street. It's not, and this is the same thing when you deal with being married or any kind of relationship. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. If you're not wholly into the relationship, it just won't work. And so I would challenge our students that listen to this to these 4 words also. And then I'll add the 5th one, and I'll tell you why I just added that one. But it's because the 5th one is one that I've really been working on lately, trying to work on. And I don't get all these right all the time. Like, I don't. And there are times when I don't
perfect.
I don't do these well. And there are seasons I do them very well, seasons I don't. The first one is just time. That is the most important thing. Like, there is no substitute for time.
Right.
I've never heard someone who is in the twilight of their life saying, I spent way too much time with my family. I spent way too much time doing things that I love. I spent way too much time in God's presence. Like, time is something we can't substitute. And here's the thing about time. You can't manage time. No one can manage time. You get 24 hours a day. You get 7 days a week. You get 365 days a year. Everybody gets the same amount of time. What you can manage is what you do with your time.
Right.
And we will always do things that are the most important to us. and your kids will see that. And Alex and I have, in seasons of life, made it a priority to do daddy-daughter dates.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, after about a year drought, we decided to start doing it again.
Yeah.
And it changes the dynamic of a relationship, just spending time with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And our family, we're pretty regular on doing family game nights. Like, we'll just pick a game to play, whether it's a board game or a video game.
Or movie nights.
Or family movie nights, both of those. And
We
just
do
spending time with
movie
each
nights a
other.
lot.
We did movie night last night, and so we actually watched Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I was so proud.
Best. It's
Yeah.
because Bub has.
Bub had never
That's the
seen
first
it.
time Bub
And,
had seen
and
it.
part of that too is, we're spontaneous with
Mm-hmm.
it.
We're very spontaneous
we
people.
don't plan it. We don't put in a calendar and all of that because our schedule is so crazy. We just find hours.
Yeah, we put it in.
the day.
Yeah.
And
do
then
it.
I think that's awesome.
If we're just sitting around, like
We're like,
it's
hey, we're doing
almost-
family movie night. Everybody
It's
come
about
Yeah.
it's about like 3 hours till bedtime.
Yep.
We put on a movie and be
in.
like,
We're like,
everybody in the
everybody's
living room, phones
dog
down,
and all.
dad.
Yeah, phones,
Phones
down.
down.
That's right.
Like halfway through the movie, he'll like whip out his phone. I'm like,
Put it away. Yeah, that's true. That's a true story. So time is the first word. The second word is prayer. There's no substitute for prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pray. And Alex, Alex is here, so I'll talk about her. But Alex and I pray every night, almost every night. I mean, 98% of the time.
99.9%.
I come into a room and we pray every night. And
If it
and-
doesn't happen, he's probably just too tired.
or I'm not
Or
home.
gone.
Or
But-
you're not home.
So I mean, there's no
tired to forget.
substitute for prayer in your relationship with your children, and it's going to be awkward, especially if you're not a praying family. Like, it just seems super awkward until you get into a rhythm. Now it's not awkward though. I go in a room every night because I've been doing it for years, and now it's not so awkward. Like
About
the
like-
first, like 2 years maybe we've been doing it, or maybe a year and a half.
The timing goes
Two.
lower and lower.
1.5, 2
Maybe
years.
maybe a year and a half. We've been doing it regular. And
Regular.
so, and at first it was kind of awkward. She's like, "Why is my dad leaning over me, saying words?" But we
Other
got it
than
all
good
figured
night.
out. And so,
Other than
yeah,
good
he's
night.
not just saying
What?
good night, kiss me on the cheek. What's happening? So prayers are going. Fun is a huge one. Like, you have to have fun, and our family loves fun. We love to do fun. Fun. I do fun well, and so we do a lot of fun. I don't know what she's singing, but.
Oh.
Oh,
Have fun.
Sing a Cyndi Lauper, girl just want to have fun.
Just wanna-
And the last word I usually I do my parentals off of is wisdom. Like,
Your
as a
parentals.
parent, my hope is to depart wisdom on my children. And here's I saw this the other day and I love this, and this is, I believe in this 100%. Our job as parents are not to protect kids from choices. Our job is to teach them how to make choices.
Right.
The Bee, we talk about the Babylon Bee on here all the time.
Oh my
The
God.
Lord.
Bee put out a good little article today, and it's not really about parents, but it's the same kind of thing. It says congregation prays for graduating senior to be protected from basic secular arguments they never bothered to prepare her for. And so I would say that same thing to the parents. Like, yeah, pray with your kids. Yeah, spend time with your kids. Love your kids. Do fun things with your kids. But if all you ever do is make choices for your kids and
Never gonna learn.
protect your kids and keep them in a bubble and make sure nothing ever happens to them bad and make them wear a helmet when they ride their bike, like, if that's all you ever do, you're setting them up for a world that is going to beat them down.
Yes.
And so you have to not just protect them, but actually teach them and give them wisdom on how to make choices. It's kind of like the old saying, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
Yeah.
Yes.
love
Like we
that.
can teach our kids that tomatoes are fruit, but what if we never tell them it doesn't go in a fruit salad? Like
Don't
then they
put
mess
it
up
in
every
fruit
picnic
salad.
ever.
So
That'd be so
disgusting.
So,
I love tomatoes,
Tomatoes
but I
are
would
gross.
never eat them with melon.
so I want to continue. I want to continue to teach my kids wisdom.
Wait, I got something to say. Okay, so I won't put you down for having your kid ride a bike with like helmets and knee pads and like elbow pads.
I will. You got beat up in my neighborhood for doing that.
Yeah, but
And
like
of course, I'm 100 years old.
That's true. But like if you don't, they're gonna fall off and learn. You gotta not fall off your bike. It's kind of the way you like treat life. You can't give them all these like bubbles and protectiveness, and like you can't make choices for them. It's kind of like how my dad teaches me math. I'll ask him, "Hey, how do you do this?" He's like, "I don't know. How do you do it?" I was like,
right.
he's like, "So what's this?" I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me." He's like, "No,
No.
that's not life."
Yeah.
And
He's
so I
like,
walk you
"So
through it,
it's-"
right?
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
so he walks me through it and makes me make all the choices.
That's right.
And he doesn't make the choices for me. And I think that's how you're supposed to like treat your kids. Like
That's right.
you can't give them all the answers. You can't spoon feed them. You like don't spoon feed them all the answers. I mean, you can give them hints,
I'm glad we're
but
recording
you
this. so I can-
can't. But you can't
always keep them in a
you
bubble.
Yeah, you can't stand right next to them
That's
and be
right.
a hover parent 24/7 because they're not going to be there 24/7.
That's right.
And
Eventually
you're
gotta
not
leave the
going to
nest.
be there 24/7.
That's right. And
good, Jay.
my last word, I'll give you this one more word, and it's one that I'm just recently adding. But
5.
the fifth word is patience. Like, and I know that's the big P word. Like nobody wants to talk about that word. But
I've been working on
I
this one
really-
my whole life.
Ooh.
I
Same.
feel like I'm a pretty patient person.
You are very, very,
Yes.
for
very.
the most part. And I want to bring that one into the intentional space of my life, like intentionally being patient, and for kids to be patient of their parents.
Gosh.
I just think
So
there's some
hard.
power in learning to be patient.
Yeah.
And this whole process, where a lot of people, you might know this if you listen and you go to our church, you know this. We're in the process of building a youth building, and it's been about a
8 months.
15-month process.
Okay, yeah.
That's true.
8 months we thought we were really going to be done, but we're not. But I will tell you this: God has taught me so much about waiting on the Lord and having patience in this process.
That's right.
Because I can 100% say this without question, without hesitation, we're in a much better place right now for the building than we were a year ago.
Right.
We have a much bigger vision. We have a clearer vision of what it is and what it should be and what it needs to be for our community and the kingdom and our church and our teens. And we didn't have that 8, 10, 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And so there's this thing about waiting on the Lord and being patient. And so I want to read for you the scripture that I have, and it's very simple. It's one that we all know, or at least that you've probably heard. But it's out of Exodus 20:12, and it just says, "Honor your father and mother, so that you may live long in the land of your Lord." The land of the Lord your God is giving you. Basically, honor your mom and pa. Honor your ma and pa, and fa and ma are actually like that's what the Appalachian people call their parents.
Yeah.
Fa and ma, fa and pa is what it is actually. And
That-
so
Shall
Um,
honor thy parents.
so honor your mother and father is basically what it's saying, so that you can live long in the land that God is giving you. The land that He's given us today is life. Like
Yeah.
that's it. And so live in such a way where you honor your mother and father, and I believe you're honoring God in that same breath. And so we're going to move into our final thought.
Yeah.
Gosh, I've been waiting for this the whole time.
And today's final thought, I gave everybody today's final thought kind of ahead of time this time.
yeah.
So we're going to talk about, this is the final thought right here. We're going to talk about, if you could only watch 5 movies for the rest of your life. So these are the only 5 movies you can see. Like, I couldn't even go see movies with you guys. Like, I can't see your 5. I can only see my 5. I know it sounds like boring because I like to watch
Not
movies
to me,
with
because
other
I picked
people.
good movies.
No, I mean, I'm saying it sounds boring because I like to watch a movie with other people.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah,
like
too.
this sit at home and watch a movie by myself kind of guy.
Yeah.
I am.
I
But-
am.
I'm not a guy, but
Praise Jesus.
That was the question on all of our minds.
Right, sure. That's true. But I will say, if you're going to watch 5 movies for the rest of your life, what would they be? And so that's the question.
okay.
And so, Miss Kristen,
Oh, you're gonna make me go first?
yeah.
Okay,
What
she
are
went
your
first,
5 movies?
Considering you apparently have great movies.
Yeah,
No, I
and
mean,
you
they're
said
great
you
to
had-
me
You already
because
said you had them, and so I'm
They're
giving
great to
everybody
me
a chance.
because these are my all-time favorites, and I went with these 5 because these are usually the ones that I go to when Mike is out of town. So these aren't this has nothing to do with him. This is all movies that I like. Okay, so
Good, that's what it's supposed to be.
I think we've talked about this before. That my very favorite all-time movie is A Few Good Men.
Yep.
So that's my number 1 on my list.
Well,
Trading Places.
it's a other good movie. Yeah,
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd and
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, love that movie. I put American President on here, and it's totally a chick flick.
Of course.
But it
That's the
kind
one
of
where the divorce, the president's wife had died, and
Yes.
he not divorced, but he died.
she died.
and he starts dating like the liberal
Annette
from the other
Bening,
side of the. Yeah.
Yeah, but it kind of makes you
It's kind of Republican.
look at the presidency like, oh, that would be so awesome if we had a president like that. Like, he was just so cool. He was a great guy. Anyway, Pride and Prejudice.
Of course.
Boo.
Gotta watch that one.
Boo.
So far, I haven't done
Really?
any of these.
Really?
I've watched any of these.
Pride and
Me
Prejudice.
neither.
I'm
That's
so
a good
I'm so
one.
glad that you watch
Keira
these when
Knightley.
I'm not here.
Keira Knightley, that's awesome. Okay, and then the last one on my list is Top Gun.
Okay,
Oh,
That
that's
one I'm proud
respectable.
I can dig that. Tom Cruise when he still had crooked teeth. Before
Yeah,
he.
did he?
Oh yeah, he still had crooked teeth in that movie. I guarantee you.
Okay, now I have 2 more, but I'll hold those just in case.
And he wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
He wasn't all Scientology
Yeah, that
up.
was back in the day. when He
He wasn't part of a sadistic cult
Yeah.
at the time.
He was still not on the crazy list.
Yeah. I know what you got.
All right. This is important. All right, these are in no particular order. These are just movies that I have found that I can watch over and over and over, and I think are great. So the first one I'm going to say is A Knight's Tale
Oh,
with Heath
yeah.
That's a
Ledger.
good one.
So good.
Just watch that
See,
one.
now I got to change my list. That one is actually on my list.
I was thinking about putting that one on my list,
Yeah.
actually, because we like that movie.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that movie. It's such a great
It's so
flick.
good. And it's
It's
so
done
original.
well. Yeah, it's
It's an
original.
amazing
It's done well.
movie. I love it.
Heath Ledger's a boss in
Yeah.
that movie. It's a great movie.
That's actually
movie.
that's actually one of 2 appearances by Heath Ledger on this list. So my second one is gonna
Nobody
be
likes Batman.
and my second one is going to be Lord of the Rings: Two Towers specifically, just because that's my favorite one out of the 3, and that's the one I can always go back to and just love. I think everything about it is great. Third is going to be Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. The first one,
Good
the
movie.
OG,
That's a good
the
movie.
best one in my opinion.
Yes.
It's a good movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's
Good
so
movie.
good. Next is going to be a movie called Heavyweights.
Yeah.
Came back in the 90s.
Wasn't a fan, but-
Yeah, I love it. I grew up watching it, and we used to get it from Blockbuster when we would go down to
Oh,
Panama City.
Lord.
We used to be able to rent like 2 movies going down to Panama City each summer. One of them was always Heavyweights, and the other one was always Mighty Ducks. And so,
Because it's almost the same
yep,
cast in both
it almost
movies.
is. I think it's
Yeah.
the same people who directed it.
Yeah.
And so that's on there.
Mighty
That's my
Ducks is
fourth.
legit.
Yeah.
I love Mighty
And
Ducks.
so my last one is gonna have to be Batman: The Dark Knight
it
with
is.
Heath Ledger as the Joker.
I get it.
Yeah, but it's so good. It's just so
I
good.
get it. I get it.
I'm not a big
All of
fan
those,
of Batman.
all of those are so good.
Gonna be honest with
I don't
you.
know if I've ever seen that movie.
You said that you
haven't either.
tried to watch, but you didn't like it because it gave you anxiety.
Yeah.
Which was the point of the
It was
movie.
super dark and it was super like.
I don't
all
like
It
over
was
the
it was
place.
the point, like they like that, Like
think I
they
like that
made
movie.
the songs.
super all over the
They
place.
made the songs like using razor blades on the violins instead of like
Yeah.
the bows to build and make it tension filled.
I mean, I get that. That was a Christian. He's the Christian Bale.
Mhm.
That's
I don't
probably
think you have to play violin with a
bet.
razor blade to get
That
it to
weird-
sound.
no. You do
Well,
to get that kind of sound. You do.
It made a certain
It's a
sound,
little
and then
weird.
like,
It's
and
like a
then like,
squeaky
in
sound.
another part, they would use like saw blades on the big stand-up basses to get those parts.
Jeez.
But that's one thing I love is like digging into how they made, especially sound in the movies.
Yeah.
Its sound is so specific in movies, and we don't think about that a lot. But like
Except
if
for
a
the
movie,
Quiet Place.
yeah. But if like
Yeah.
a movie has like
Never seen it, but it's great.
normally doesn't have like a
Heard it's
soundtrack or anything, like it would change the way we
Oh,
have
for
movies. Like,
sure.
like if A Knight's Tale didn't have his 80s
for sure.
soundtrack,
No question.
it would
gosh,
be entirely
yes.
different.
It would definitely would.
Yeah.
Any movie would. If you took the sound out, I mean, if you took the like backing music behind
Yeah.
the music
It'd be so
certainly
boring.
adds something.
That's
no
the channel
question.
I listen to in Pandora.
No question.
Yeah,
Isn't it, Alex?
Yes.
backing
She
movie
gets
tracks.
so bored. Movie.
I
Yeah,
listen to my
movie
own
magic is
music.
what it's called, I think.
I
I
put
think it's called
my
movie magic.
I put my
the
headphones
channel.
in and listen to my own music.
So yeah, those are my
Panic at
five.
the Disco.
Those are good.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yes,
Oh,
Panic at the
oh
Disco.
my gosh, I forgot one. Can I
What?
can I change? Can I put one in?
Nope,
This is
too late.
important.
Do it,
This is
do it,
so
We're gonna
important.
we're gonna do another round in a second. We're gonna do honorable
Okay,
mentions.
I just have one more that needs to be
Honorable
said.
We're gonna do
mention.
honorable mentions.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jay. What's your
Okay,
five?
my first three are the Grinch live action Jim Carrey version that I watch
I like
every
that.
single night in June.
I could do that.
Coraline.
Coraline
Oh my
certainly
gosh.
on
Oh my
there.
gosh,
Yeah,
of course you knew.
I knew that one was on
I
there.
love that movie. I watch it almost
100%.
every single night along
Yeah.
with Grinch. And then Land Before Time.
Yeah. I knew
Oh
that.
yes,
That was
I knew that one.
And
y'all
then
are raising this
The
child
next
right.
two are going to probably be very confusing. The first Thor and the third
No.
Thor.
Okay.
You mean Ragnarok?
Yes.
Yeah. I would certainly. That's one that I
First
almost put on my
and
list.
third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can't believe you didn't put Guardians of the Galaxy on.
I
That's
think-
gonna be one of my honorable
I
mentions.
think.
I'm sorry.
I think Ragnarok is seriously
it's so fun.
probably the most underrated Marvel
Yeah.
I
movie.
love it
Yeah, it was
so
really
much.
good.
It
It's
might
one
be
of
my
favorites.
favorite.
It's
it might
It's
be
not
my
my favorite, but it's definitely super.
It might be
My
my favorite.
favorite Marvel movie is Thor 1 because it's like the beginning of
Sure.
Thor and I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also really like Dark World.
Yeah,
isn't
that was
it?
the second one.
Second one?
Mhm. It was a little weird, but it was good.
I like
You
it.
can't put that one on the list.
It's one of my honorable
over.
mentions.
We're not to the honorable
Okay,
mentions.
well,
Yeah,
we're not
not-
doing that one yet.
Go.
All right.
Dad, go.
I got my five right here.
I think I know a few of these.
Number one is Tombstone.
Oh yeah.
That's my jam.
Yep.
If I could only watch one movie the rest of my life, it would be that one.
Tombstone.
Two, and these are not in any particular order either, but two is Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Of course.
I love that movie. Forrest Gump's one of the movies I don't watch a lot,
But it's
but every
great.
time I watch it, I'm like, why do
don't
I
I
not watch this
Yeah.
more? Like, this is
It's a
such a
great
great
movie.
movie.
There's a lot of movies like that.
Yeah.
Three is Elf.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
I watch it all year round.
I
Doesn't
forgot
have to
about
be
another
Christmas.
movie.
They're like,
Yep.
"Can we-
Watch it in
let's
the
watch
middle of
Elf. I'm
June.
like, ugh.
It's
Yeah.
June.
The
I get
fourth
that all the
one.
time.
The fourth one is Hoosiers,
Yeah,
the basketball movie. Again,
gosh, of
basketball.
course it is.
Hoosiers.
that one's
And
memorized.
the fifth one, I almost didn't put on the list because it's not a movie I'd recommend most people to
I
watch.
had
I know
I had
what
some
it
of those
is.
I had to filter through.
Just because,
I know
and
what
it's
it
not a
is.
bad movie. It's got a little bit of cussing in it.
I know what it is.
It's Life.
Yeah.
With Eddie Murphy and Martin
yeah.
Lawrence.
You were watching that the other
And
day.
it's not a bad movie. It doesn't have like nudity or violence
Yeah.
or anything in
No,
it.
but here's
they,
the thing.
They do drop the F bomb quite
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you and Tito
We can
Oh
quote
my
that
are
movie.
them.
Yeah, we're the same people.
Eddie Murphy and
We're
Martin
Eddie Murphy and
Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence. There's no
Like they
question.
recite that movie like crazy.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
mean,
So those would be
the
my
clean- the
five
clean parts.
I would take with me if I could only do five ever.
Yeah.
Can we do honorable
It's okay.
mentions
You can
now?
do two honorable mentions.
No.
What do you got?
This is gonna really surprise you. I could not get this one out of my head when you gave me this task. Miracle.
It's a good
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
a good
just
movie.
because
Yeah.
Seen it?
the
Never
end-
heard of it.
You know, like the
It's a
excitement.
great movie. That's a great
and-
movie.
I've never
Yeah,
seen
No
it
and
or
question.
that's
heard
one
of it.
should
That's one
watch
of
it.
those movies that I'm
Make
like,
that a movie
I
night.
don't really want to watch that, but then
Yeah,
when it's
but
on,
when
I'm
I
like,
watch
oh
it,
my
it's
gosh.
great.
It's on Netflix
Yeah,
now.
no question.
Yeah, we have it
We
now.
own it.
Oh.
But
The second one that I had on there was Rudy.
okay, I can see that.
course, both
Another
sports
decent
movies,
movie. Another
but
decent movie.
feel good movies.
All right.
What were you missing?
My 2 honorable mentions, which this first honorable mention shouldn't be an honorable mention. I should have put it first, but I panicked. And Alex is going to disagree with me on this, but she's young and ignorant, so it's okay. Princess Bride is the greatest movie of all
hate
time.
that movie so
that
much.
needs to be backup number 1 on my list.
Yeah, baby, you almost got kicked out of our house for that.
And so then my second
But I
one.
love
I
you.
like Andre the Giant. That's the only
He's-
good part of that
he's a
movie.
boss.
And then my second one is another great movie, is The Patriot.
Oh,
Mel
I
Gibson.
I thought you were going to
also a
put
great
that
movie.
on
Yeah.
your list.
I would
me
I would
too.
put that in my probably top 10 or
Yeah.
12.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can watch The Patriot like on a loop.
I used to watch
love
it all the time.
That, like every night he watches TV, and it's always
That
the
one
same
was
thing
one
every
that
time.
was always on.
Before Psych and before
Oh my gosh,
Scrubs,
Psych is
yeah.
great.
The Patriot
Yeah.
and Tombstone, those were the
just
ones
so
that
good.
rotated.
The Patriot, Tombstone, and Shakespeare with Love were my 3 that I always played all
I
the
can't
time.
believe you're admitting that.
Oh yeah, I did. I played that all the time. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably my top 12. If
Probably
I had a
because that's the
top
only
12,
movie we had in our arsenal.
if I had a top 12, Shakespeare in Love would be
Your
on there
arsenal?
for sure.
yeah,
It was
great
so
movie.
good.
because we didn't have Netflix.
All right, 2
back
more.
then.
Jay, what do you got?
Okay, my first one is Sound of Music Disc 1. And I'm surprised
Why
Mom...
not disc 2? Like,
because
can't you just play
Disc 1
2?
is better.
But isn't it the same movie? Like, isn't it just
It
one
is.
big
It's
movie?
in 2 discs.
But it's really
You
confusing.
can't just go, I want to watch half of Star Wars.
No.
gotta
In Sound of
go.
Music, it goes up till they get married, and that's all I want to watch.
I understand that it's like 2 discs, because back then we couldn't put a whole movie on 1 disc.
She's saying that she likes the part where like she's with the kids.
I get
Yes.
that. I get that. I
That's
100% understand.
That's
But
it.
the
I'm
movie
not
is
a big
the whole
fan
thing.
of the Disc 2.
It wasn't Sound of Movie Part 1. It's Sound of Movie
Alright,
Part
what's
2.
your other one?
My other one is Scooby-Doo Zombie Island.
I love that one.
I knew you were going to throw some
My
Scooby-Doo in there.
favorite.
That's
I
good.
love it
Scooby-Doo.
so much. If you don't
Our
like
kids are
Scooby-Doo, we can't be
Scooby
friends.
These two,
freaks.
I was.
and
I'm
you-
not-
I will tell you, I'm going to give you 2 more, and they would literally be in my top 12. And they're both, you will freak. Like, you won't.
What?
I'll probably get hate mail for the first one.
Oh,
Like,
no.
it's
Mike
Mike
at
at ccclive.org.
Oh, where's Evan?
Mike at
Oh,
ccclive.org.
Evan. Pouring out for the homie.
But this is one that I really would put on my list. It'd be top 12.
What is it?
And people are just going to go, oh, no, you're out of your mind. Because I wouldn't put the other ones in my top 12. Maybe one of them. Maybe one.
Tell us what it is.
I would put in my top 12, and honorable mention would be Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
Ooh, that's
Really?
actually a really good one.
And I hear
like
your
that one.
reasoning.
I thought it was very underrated. I mean,
okay.
I
I
like
wasn't.
that movie.
I'm
I
not
do.
a big Hayden Christensen fan.
Yeah.
No.
But I thought it was a good story.
He wasn't in
I,
there.
wasn't
I
in that one,
actually,
Mike.
That's
no,
why
I know,
you
I know. I know. I'm just talking about the other
Okay,
ones.
just making
People-
sure. Just making
people
sure.
got mad at Hayden
Oh.
Christensen.
Yeah.
I just liked it, man. I thought it
Yeah.
was a good story.
I don't
I
think
did
it's
too.
as terrible
I
as
actually
everyone
liked
wants
all
it to be.
3 of them. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
they
yeah.
were decent. I really liked the Jar Jar Binks character.
Jar
Jar
later.
Binks
He
is
was
my
my
favorite.
But I thought Phantom Menace was the better of the 3.
Yeah, for
obviously.
sure, for sure.
And I thought it was a good story.
Yeah.
Like the kid and where they found him and how
Yeah.
he, how he became kind of, he was the chosen kid,
Yeah.
the midichlorians, and I just thought that was a cool little story.
Yeah.
That's as growing up as a Star Wars fan in the 70s and 80s,
Mm-hmm.
like you always wondered like where did this Darth Vader guy come from?
Yeah.
And that was it. They showed it to us.
Yeah.
And you can say all you want about it, but they showed it to us,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it. So
That's the first movie
I don't think the
we ever
prequels are as
watched.
bad as they get a rep.
No,
for.
not
I don't
even
think they're
close.
as good as they could have been.
no, but nothing.
But-
But really, nothing is.
Well,
Not
that's true.
really.
But that was the first one they ever read.
Yeah, yeah.
very little. Very few times is something as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna get Infinity Wars every time.
I know, right?
Like,
That
you're
movie
not
was
gonna
so
get.
legit.
You're not gonna get Titanic every time. You're not gonna get Avatar every
Yeah.
time. Like that's just the
That's a
bottom
good
line.
movie.
I'm still not ready to talk about Infinity War.
What's your
And my
other one?
second one, my second honorable mention, is Grease.
Oh, seriously?
Whoa.
I would.
Are you
Whoa,
kidding
that's a
me?
surprise.
Hate mail.
All day. I love
Whoa.
Love it.
You just got all the
CCC.
theater kids' attention.
You're the one
Mike.
that I want. Ooh, ooh,
I don't
ooh.
think I've ever seen Grease.
I used to listen to
I'm surprised
the
no one
Grease
said Footloose.
soundtrack on record
Yeah.
all the time when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Wow.
See, I wish
I like that movie.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this. If I could sing, we'd be having
You singing that?
we'd be having a
If.
different conversation right now. Because I probably wouldn't be a pastor. I probably
Yeah.
would have tried to be an actor or a Broadway play
That's
guy.
true because you can dance.
Because I can
and all
dance
that stuff.
He
and
can
I can act. I can do all that. I just never could sing. I can't carry a note to the mailbox, and so it was bad.
You could
But I
have
loved Grease. I love musicals.
That is interesting. I did not know that about
For
you.
sure.
I
I
learned
don't
new things
think
about
I've
you like
ever
every day.
That's how it
Grease.
works.
You're like an onion. There's so many
You've
different
never seen
layers.
Grease? Yeah, you're like an onion. Cakes have layers. I'm an onion.
Another seriously underrated movie.
It is, yeah, that's a
I've
great
never
movie.
seen Grease.
That's disappointing to me. You've never seen it. We're gonna have to watch
Probably
that
on
one too.
Netflix.
I love it.
We
It
have
is.
it.
We
own
have
it.
it.
We own it.
So that's it. Those are our movies.
Boom.
Tweet
So-
us.
so can we
tweet us,
get
Instagram
Evan's
us,
opinion?
email us your lists.
We'll have to get Evan's list when
Yeah,
he
we'll
comes
see
back.
if Evan can
Yeah.
throw us a list. Just throw us your list. Let us
Hit
know.
us up on the social medias.
Hit us up on the social medias, our website. You can either go to ccclive.org or you can go to pursuetoday.live. Either one of those work. Both of those are ours. Social media
live,
is
same
at We Are Pursuit. Just the letter R at We Are Pursuit is all of our social media accounts. You can find me at P Mike Hofer. That's all my social media accounts. All of them are at P Mike Hofer. We have Kristen. What's yours?
My what?
Your social
Instagram.
media, Instagram,
My Instagram
Twitter.
is Hofer Mom.
Hofer Mom at Hofer Mom. We got
At No One in Charge, all one word.
at Nowhere in Charge.
Mine is ale.tris.hof, ale.tris.hof.
Bingo.
Instagram.
Her name is
Hit me up.
Alexandria Trista Lachey Hofer.
Of course, you had to tell them my full name.
And I noticed some of you guys, I'm going to leave you with this. This is my last word
Oh,
of
Lord.
the night. Some of you guys may be out there thinking, well, why does he call her Jay?
Oh my god.
It's because when she was born, she had a little peanut head.
I look like a peanut.
And I used to call her Peanut. And it became Peanut Butter and Jelly. And
Peanut
then it
butter.
became PBJ. And now it's just J.
He
So
also
that's
calls me-
literally how
That
it
is a
got there.
progression.
He also
That
calls
is
me peanut brittle.
laziness.
It was
He
a
calls me
slope.
peanut brittle, peanut
Yeah.
butter,
Yeah.
peanut,
Pretty girl.
pretty girl,
Yeah. All of that.
All the
Trista
above.
Lachey.
The J
When
is
I'm in
just
trouble-
lazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When
it's funny.
I'm in trouble,
That's
he
how it
calls me
works.
Trista Lachey.
Trista Lachey. Yep. That's it. That's
Boom.
it. Well, thanks for joining us this week. This has been Pursuit Table Talk. I'm Pastor Mike Hofer, along with,
Alex Hofer.
No, Barfield.
Kristen Hofer.
and we out.
I wish Mother was here.
This is the Candyland Hour for all good children. The orchestra will play our theme song.
You know that song, don't you?
Sure I do.
Well, then sing it.
Hot, hot, blow. Hot, hot, blow. Hot, hot, blow.